Wonderful. So we actually, this format is still in construction for us, and what we actually do is that everyone contributes with their like 7 to 10 minutes reflection on those very same concepts that will appear on the screen. We will have Mireia telling us about politiqueria. Politiqueria in Català is a very provocative word, if you want. Politicking in English maybe is less sexy, but I think that in fact there is something about where we find ourselves today as architects or as contributors to the city that have a lot to do with the way in which we understand our relationship with politics. So I'm not going to make introductions. There is one thing that is called the World Wide Web that is actually going to help you find all the accomplishments, awards, levels of expertise, official titles, and forms of recognition for each one of the speakers today. And what I'm just going to do is to pass this microphone into Mireia so that she can actually take us into her thoughts and reflections on in Catalan or English. We don't know. If you actually don't speak English, you will find the Catalan translation in there. If you actually do it in Catalan, they have live translation in their ears, or you can also do it in Spanish. So what we also love, el que ens encanta d'aquest festival d'arquitectures, és que la multiplicitat de llengües, de formes d'actuar i de pensar, formen part d'aquesta construcció. Mireia, primer que res, fem una cosa que sempre és molt ben... és una de les grans tradicions, i tradicions són importants. Donem-los una gran aplaudida i donem-los la benvinguda.
Gràcies. Okay, thank you very much, Eva, for the introduction. So my word is politiqueria. So in a way, I think that was not the first one. Hold on, this one. So yeah, as Eva said, like politiqueria in Catalan and in Spanish and also in English is the word for making politics. No, is the word for negotiating amongst different agents that have different interests. No, so in a way, this graphic that I did was this like these different agents that have different interests and have to negotiate in order to they have to give out some things and then receive some others and so on. No? In order to make agreements. No. But these 5 people that I show on this slide seem quite the same, no? Like there are like these 5 different shadows of people, same size, same height, same suit, and so on, no? And that this is also what happens if you are Spanish. You can recognize all these people, no? What happens also in politics in Spain, no? You can see these 5 people. You don't recognize them, maybe. There are the 5 representatives of the 5 different parties that we have in Spain, no? So as you can see, all of them are wearing the same shirt, same jacket. One of them is not wearing a jacket because he's like the outsider, no? But like same age, same haircut, everything, no? So it would seem that these guys, although they have different ideas, they would have probably similar interests, especially when it comes to public space or when it comes to, no, they have the same income, they have the same age, from 40 to 55, and they don't quite seem very different at all, no? So the exercise that we like to do, because also we think architecture in a way is politic, everything, every personal thing is politic, and also architecture is politic. We try in our practice to make politics with different agents that look more different than these guys here, no? Because otherwise we risk designing and making politics always in favor of these groups of people, no? So we try to include in the conversation all a wider range of agents that could enter this conversation, of course, no? Trying to speak to them also, no? So, of course, humans that usually don't have voice in the politics, like children or elderly people, and of course other agents that are even non-humans, no? Like in this case pollinators or trees, like or insects or birds and so on. No? So what I thought to bring to this conversation is this project that we had to do, like especially for this occasion for the festival last year, where we had to deal with these different like agents. No, in this case, this is the project we did last year for Model, where we had to negotiate with the elderly people, with the neighbors of this place where we were based. That was like Ronda San Antonio. That was this like big like hard floor that they don't know exactly this public space that is like also like very much into politiqueria because there is like they have to work on it. No, so there are different interests. No, the kids want to still play football there. The elderly people want to bring the traffic back, and so on. There are many conversations going on with that. No, so together with Les Atelier, which are landscape designers, we tried to negotiate amongst all these agents, no? And what we did was to bring this portable garden in order to make in order to bring some discussions into this place, and also to have celebrations where we moved this around, no? So we brought this like different species to the site in order to bring different topics of debate. We brought species that were capable of absorbing more CO2 than others in order to possibly bring this new typology of portable gardens into more polluted areas. We brought also species that could be capable of bringing more pollinators, no? So that we could have more biodiversity in the cities. We were like also like rethinking on how the species in the city are curated just because of aesthetical issues and so on. We brought species that were edible species, no? So also to bring into the discussion the food sovereignty, and to also question why not? Why don't we have edible species on the cities where we have the biggest problems on food sovereignty, no? And of course, we also had the chance to move it around. You can see here the different agents that were there, and I was happy to have here Cosmos and Parabéns, because we also there was a moment where the wheels of this, no, there was also this material idea of circular work where they were about to use in fact, the parts of this installation that is going to be probably at some point somewhere else for this installation here. And that's it. No, you can see here like all the actors that we were negotiating with and making politics with, no, but like from our point of view, we think as designers, our designs mediate amongst different agents, and like that are always in the mood of making politicking, and negotiating amongst like different interests, no, and trying to work with that issues, no. So these are some details of the project, and and maybe I can. And these are other projects that we develop in the studio, and maybe I can pass the microphone to the next one. Yeah.
Microphone, please.
I'm not making introductions, but there is always a transitional introduction. Mireia was, in fact, one of the participants last year of the Model Architectures Festival, and it is fantastic to actually see now with your work teaching at GSAP at Columbia University in New York, but also collaborating with other people, how this project is taking in other dimensions. And it is true. We still actually have the potential reuse of this project in the years to come. We are now actually moving Martina Nadal. She's actually someone who I met very late at night, in which I started to do what I love to do the most, that is interrogating her deeply about some of the very incredible projects that Martina is doing with her team at the Domestic Data Streamers, a group of, I would say, information architects that try to actually make sense of the very complex world that is surrounding us. So, Martina, you go.
Moltes gràcies, bona tarda. I'm going to share my ideas in Catalan, but I'm happy to share them afterwards in English if anyone doesn't understand or the translation doesn't work perfectly. Thank you, Eva, for the introductions. Bueno, jo estic aquí com a representant de Domestic Data Streamers, jo porto la divisió d'impacte social i des de Domestic som un estudi creatiu que portem 10 anys experimentant amb noves maneres de comunicar les dades per mirar de fer-les accessibles i no deixar gaire gent enrere. No? Llavors, amb tota aquesta revolució immediata de la intel·ligència artificial, el 2022 vam començar un programa de formació, d'exploració, de debat sobre com podíem integrar aquestes tecnologies d'intel·ligència artificial generativa, sobretot en la nostra pràctica, i quin rol creiem que havíem de tenir una mica els professionals de l'àmbit creatiu. Llavors, portem un any d'una experimentació molt boja amb molts agents diferents. Perquè us feu una idea una mica, us donaré un exemple d'un dels projectes més importants, que és un projecte que es diu Synthetic Memories. Aquest projecte bàsicament el que fa és recrear imatges a través de les memòries de diferents comunitats. Estem treballant amb comunitats de persones que pateixen Alzheimer o processos de demència, amb comunitats de refugiats, amb víctimes del procés de Hiroshima i Nagasaki i amb institucions penitenciàries, per veure una mica com el rol de recrear memòries que han desaparegut, que s'estan perdent, pot suposar un agent de canvi en, per exemple, ralentir un procés de demència o en recuperar una relació més pacífica amb memòries traumàtiques del passat. Estem fent això amb experts i expertes de molts àmbits diferents, des d'àmbits mèdics, àmbits de les ciències socials, àmbits de la investigació, i aquesta part està sent clau, evidentment. I bàsicament hi ha sota aquesta idea de manifest hi ha 3 coses que, com us podeu imaginar, hem tingut molts debats no només sobre la intel·ligència artificial, sinó quines tecnologies fem servir, per què les fem servir, com les fem servir, i és molt difícil posicionar-se i decidir en què creiem, no? Tot això, especialment quan és en molts sentits una revolució tan nova. Llavors, per començar, hi ha una cosa en la que creiem, que és el paper de l'art i de la creació com una eina espectacular per obrir espais de debat. Creiem que el que està passant està posant molts riscos i moltes oportunitats sobre la taula i que és superimportant que aquestes converses, aquests debats siguin plurals i hi hagi moltes perspectives. No? Llavors, tenint en compte la dimensió tècnica extremadament complexa del que està passant, que moltes persones s'apropin des de sectors diferents sovint és complicat. Però aquí creiem molt en el paper de l'art com a mediador, com a una disciplina des de la qual la paradoxa, l'ambigüitat, les visions contraposades poden entrar en diàleg d'una manera experimental i d'una manera participativa i col·laborativa. Llavors aquesta és una de les primeres coses en les que creiem fermament i volem una mica com incitar i convidar al sector creatiu a agafar aquest rol una mica. No? En segon lloc, creiem també moltíssim en el paper de les creadores com a persones que podem traduir realitats molt complexes per fer-les més accessibles. No? I aquí una mica la idea de totes aquestes absències com a urgències, o sigui, com aconseguim explicar tot el que està passant a la velocitat a la que està passant perquè sigui comprensible, perquè sigui digerible, perquè sigui prou sintètic i simplificat per poder obrir el debat a més comunitats. No? Aquí hi ha una realitat que és altament preocupant, que és el fet de que aparentment a la natura no hi ha cap fenomen que sigui el mateix tipus de corba exponencial accelerada que està passant ara mateix amb les tecnologies i els models d'intel·ligència artificial i per tant ens resulta extremadament complexa a un nivell cognitiu de comprendre, d'integrar el que està passant. Llavors aquí creiem que les arts, el disseny, l'experimentació des de lo formal, des de trobar les metàfores oportunes, trobar els espais de visualització de les dades, de transformació d'aquestes realitats tan complexes en narratives accessibles és una de les tasques en les que estem una mica com apostant per traduir tot això i per explicar l'impacte ecològic que hi ha darrere de les intel·ligències artificials, les lògiques de captura, a on està recaient tot el poder, a on no estan arribant totes aquestes eines, de què estem parlant, per què ho estem fent servir, per què no ho estem fent servir. No? Llavors, una mica aquest és el segon punt amb el que creiem fermament i que té molt a veure amb la pràctica que hem estat fent els últims anys, una mica com de traductors de realitats complexes. I per últim hi ha un tercer punt en el que creiem profundament que també és el nostre paper com a exploradors i gairebé hackers d'aquestes tecnologies, no? Com podem experimentar per entendre-les, trencar-les, desmuntar-les i fer-nos les nostres, no? I decidir com agafem cadascuna d'aquestes intel·ligències i les desmuntem i les tornem a muntar perquè ens representin millor i perquè ens ajudin una mica a no caure en tots aquests riscos que hi són, aquests riscos de polaritzar-nos, de generar més divisió econòmica, social, cultural, sinó una mica utilitzar-ho per respondre a les preguntes que nosaltres creguem que s'hagin de respondre i incloure la ciutadania, a la societat civil, a tots els que estem deixant enrere, perquè no ens oblidem que hi ha una tercera part del món que ni tan sols està tenint aquest accés a internet, o sigui, imaginem-nos ja amb la complexitat de les intel·ligències artificials per ser integrades. No? I llavors, bueno, finalment, o sigui, així com a mode de conclusió, nosaltres veiem que clarament encara falta molta pluralitat i molt d'enfoc humanista en com s'estan utilitzant aquestes tecnologies, però estem una mica com picant pedra per intentar integrar-les i ajudar-nos a que ens ajudin a fer-nos les preguntes que ens volem fer. No? I llavors una mica com construïm una intel·ligència artificial des de la diversitat, com ens assegurem que sigui segura per totes, com ajudem a que arribi a comunitats que si no s'hi aproparien perquè només veuen els riscos amb tota la raó i amb tots els precedents històrics que ho justifica. I una mica com ens fem aquestes preguntes i intentem una mica enfocar-ho des de si la intel·ligència artificial és la resposta, quines són les preguntes que ens hem de fer. Això és tot, gràcies.
Moltes gràcies. La Asli Cicek, pronunciació quasi adequada, és una arquitecta belga d'origen turc que ha estat treballant dintre dels espais expositius de comunicar i intentar, d'una certa forma, fer el mateix que la Martina ens estava explicant, però des de l'arquitectura. I moltíssimes vegades des de l'arquitectura no és tant comunicar i informar i fer més accessible, sinó a vegades produir un espai que és menys accessible, que és menys comprensible per a fer-nos pensar, dubtar, no? I reflexionar. No? I aquest també és una pregunta d'un debat que podríem entrar en algun moment. But what I ask actually Asli to talk to us about is about precision. Something that as architects we do it by default in the construction of the built environment, but precision in communication and in dealing with history and in dealing with objects that actually belong to a different set of cultures that we need to present is a much larger and complex definition. I have no idea where you are taking us, but Asli, your turn.
Thank you. This is working, okay. Thanks Eva for the invitation. And I started to think about, of course, when you asked me to reflect on precision, what is it actually in architecture? Indeed, we're expected to bring it over, we're expected to also work with it, and the more precise something is, the better it might become. It's almost like a compliment also. If something or a topic is called precise, it is a clear, it assigns to the topic or to the person a clarity, and a methodical clarity. I don't know if this works. Can I have? Yeah. So when I started to think about it, I took the liberty of thinking about it in a much more personal way. So what precision means while working in architecture for me. And then I came to this, to this imprecise document medium of the sketch, because in my practice I sketch a lot. This is the main communication between my collaborators and me, and also while thinking about projects. Also next to it, because I'm a terrible model builder, so I can never do that, so I'd rather draw. But when we think about precision, and then in terms of an architectural sketch, or sketch as a document, I was also thinking of how much it's used as a method of study and observation, and that we find in fine arts. I mean, there's this series of amazing sketches of Leonardo da Vinci towards the end of his life, the last 20 years. He was kind of obsessed with, or he was trying to understand this phenomenon of a flood, of destruction, and he was making this number of sketches to understand the movement of the water, to understand the burst of a cloud, also to see how a flood can be depicted, this kind of very unpredictable natural events. You can actually somehow not really, you cannot really, at his time at least photographically, not fix. And hence the sketches for this kind of paintings, which he actually never also realized, they show this idea of studying a phenomenon as much as fantasizing it. And I think that's quite important, and they're kind of imprecise, but there's still a precision slowly coming along these drawings. In arts, of course, precision is also sometimes with accuracy. It comes together with accuracy. Anyhow, the word is being always a bit dubious. Precision, accuracy in science is also, there are differences, but they can be mixed up. And in fine arts, in the history of fine arts, especially around 16th century, like this Flemish painter, Bernard van Orlay, it's a detail of a painting, shows. I just took this one because it's a bit more abstract than other examples we would make, but we see this kind of detailed precision of a drapé, of a fabric. And around the same time, of course, there was this attempt of artists in the 16th century to reach a precision in depiction of reality, of what we see, and also like Dürer was doing in 1525, like creating a machine in order to observe through a grid the world, to kind of put it into the paper space and to make a certain precise documentation of it or depiction of it. Well, in architecture, indeed, we are communicating also with drawings, but a lot with precision. We have to be precise to the client, we have to be precise to the builder, and we have to be also precise to the public we are communicating. So there's a kind of reduction in the documents we show, we produce in our communication. But then there's a moment where we use a sketch, and that I find kind of this moment when we can talk to ourselves or in a kind of more protected group about the projects. And of course, this is a Mies van der Rohe sketch, and it's a very obvious choice probably, but bear with me with it because I'm going to show a few more of that. It was due to my excitement of coming here after 10 years to see the Barcelona pavilion this midday again. And also, of course, that building being a little bit like a kind of this precision in lines and composition. So I was looking up for sketches of the building. I don't exactly know the chronology of these documents, but in either case, we see here, of course, what Mies was, it was Mies after, and this kind of clear floor plan, and the composition, which is much more made on the floor plan, and also, had, of course, gone through a couple of steps, and eventually he could build it, right? So it's this kind of a statement. It's also one-to-one model. In a way, it's a kind of research, or it's a start of a research, which he had, of course, done around the same time with a private house, being Tugendhat House I just showed before. So this project he could build, but then there's another project. A few years later, he starts to design, and he will never build. And then he produced this like a variety and number of sketches. Is Huber House in Magdeburg in Germany, and he never realized that house, but he starts to study the courthouse and tries to actually find something about it. There's very different types of sketches. They keep on being changing. It's sometimes there's this cross. I suppose is something which he said it wouldn't be accurate anymore. It's hard to say. Or I'm not a specialist, of course, on Mies' work, so I don't want to say anything wrong about it. But it keeps on working on these images, and somehow there is a lot of imprecision as well in them. And it's not to, of course, diminish or say something which is not at all accurate about Mies' work. But I personally enjoy this imprecise documents in order to come to a certain precision on all scales. I mean, this is a project of IIT Student Union in 1939. He was working on it. And this is like 5-6 years later after the Huberhaus project has been developed. So it's almost obsessive. And in a way, it's almost obsessive as Da Vinci was obsessively trying to catch something in the sketches of the water, the movement of water. You can hardly catch. Of course, in architecture, you can catch a system. You can define a building system. You can also, if you're lucky enough, realize it. But in these sketches of Mises, they're also so, and somehow they are some precise for a while. But when we think of the built work, of course, there's a lot of precision in it. But there's this kind of conceptual freedom in this imprecision of the sketch, which, for instance, in this case, about 25 years later, in a building which can be reduced to a couple of lines. This is a competition entry drawing of the new Neue Nationalgalerie in Berlin. That we see actually that there's something quite, or I see at least, I want to say, there's something quite valuable about being allowed to be imprecise in a document, in architecture, or in any production, any conceptual thinking, in order to reduce after a kind of reduction process by doing it over and over again to make a precise concept. And I appreciate a lot if I can make or have the time to reach that kind of precision through this imprecise medium. Thank you.
Thank you, Asli. When one actually tries to think about the sketches, and it is true that every single time that we actually think about precision, we think about Mies, and somehow I didn't know that you would get there, and I was like, it's so obvious, no? And I know you just came from it this morning, and the Mies van der Rohe Foundation is, together with the City Council, the institution behind this festival, and so there is something amazing about what are the kind of ghosts, no, that hunt us constantly. And the question is, how do we also translate those moments of precision into contemporary practices? Last year we had the pleasure to have the other half of Christoph, that was Emmanuel. And I know that you're actually working in a new building in this city that actually should be another referent, perhaps. Christoph Ganterbeen is an architect that actually have also had the pleasure to share many reviews about architecture and architecture culture. And it's a real pleasure to have you here. It was probably just hours ago, maybe days ago, when I gave you a choice. I didn't give a choice to anyone about what word to define. I gave you a choice, and you went for bureaucracy. So I'm very curious to see what you're coming up with. So thank you for being here.
Thank you very much, Eva, for the introduction and the invitation. Hello, everybody. Can I have the first slide, please? Can I start the presentation, please?
So I guess there is always a moment in which the rain, the music, the gods show up, and the PDF doesn't appear. So we are going to actually move to Max while we are actually finding your presentation, Christoph. Max is one of the winners or the recipients of one of the Lina Awards, and he actually has joined us as part of this manifesto series. I don't know at what moment the rain is going to force us out. The trees can help us with some of that shadow, but Max?
Thank you, Eva. So I've been asked to speak on the theme of courage. I'm going to run through some collaborative work that our studio based in Cape Town called The Mark has been doing with an international design lab called Space Saloon. I'm going to quickly run through this project and then try highlight points that I think have been of points of courage within this scheme, but then also maybe broadly applicable within maybe the industry. So if everyone can still see, this is a project we did last year in Italy in a small port town called Fano, and we were invited there by the municipality to help reimagine this port area, which is currently going through some radical changes. At the moment, there's a lot of industrial shipping yards there, but it's quickly changing into more social and pedestrian spaces as that industry is moving further outside of the city. And when getting invited there, I think very similar to the work that we see behind us by Cosmos and Paribas, we're curious around how can we establish or look towards more hypercontextual design aesthetics as a means of promoting some type of architecture of availability or some type of spatial gestures that can only have come from that space. So we immediately went through a process that we were calling urban mining, and we literally just walked around the site within a certain sort of square kilometer, and with our hands foraged and looked for materials that could only be found in this place, or not only found in this place, but they were found in this place.
I'm sorry to cut you guys. We just have to wait for 10 minutes because we just need to turn the power off just in case something happens. But I think we can wait 10 minutes, and if we're able, we're gonna start again. I'm sorry. Yeah?